Round number 7 of the Dodge Viper Cup couldn't be held at a more picturesque setting. The Yoker Mountains behind me overlook one of the most magnificent motorsport facilities in the world, Miller Motorsports Park. Well, the championship has heated up to the point where it's at a rolling boil. We've got new guest drivers, and what a place to run. This is Dodge Viper Cup.
Miller Motorsports Park, for the racing fan, a glorious oasis in the Great Salt Desert. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer. You've already met Tom Natchew. We are here for round number 7 of the Dodge Viper Cup. Qualifying complete. Let's get you to the starting lineup. Ryan Schimsk, his 4th pole of the season. Ralph Gilles alongside. Row number 2, Ben Keating, the only other guy with 2 wins, and Charlie Putman. Then we go to row number 3, Jim Stout and Michael Von Quillick. Slipping back to row number 4, we have Ted Hughes and Rob Paccioni, guest driver here for the weekend. Row number 5 is going to have us Connie Bogan and Eric Galern. In row number 6, it is going to be Kurt Solberger and Dave Mazik, and all by himself in the 7th row because of an issue related to qualifying, as Keith Verge is one of the fastest guys in the circuit.
Well, he didn't show up for the drivers' meeting, and that's what you get. You don't show up, you go to the back of the pack. Other guy to watch is Charlie Putman, a guest driver driving Jeff Courtney's hardware. He's a pro. He's been in the World Challenge Sports Car Wars for 3 or 4 years. He's a guy to watch.
And we're green, and Keating giving us something to watch for sure. Look at that launch from the 3rd spot on the outside shoulder of Shimsk into turn 1, side by side through this very tricky double apex left-hander that folds it back to Lairn, a huge wiggle, and a great save, and Verges attacking already.
That number 90 car is going to work its way up. You can almost count on it, but Verges is a large enough veteran to know that you're not going to get it all done in the first lap. He's going to take his time and work his way through this field, just like that.
Take what you can and know you've got race time to get it done. As he slots by, picks up that spot on Ted Hughes, tucks right in behind. That's Rob Paccioni, started in the 8th spot, and that number 53 white Michelin Viper in front of him is Galern. Those would be the next 2 guys that Verges would be attacking.
Paccioni's a Mustang specialist, been doing for 15 years at Mosport and other tracks in Canada. This is his first time racing an ACR-X. So far, according to what he says in the paddock, having a great time.
Oh, and look at this, 3 abreast, Tom, up into the attitudes, and Verges sneaks through on Paccioni and almost allows, with that kind of freezing Paccioni on the outside, but now Verges runs a little wide. Paccioni, Hughes going right back by him again.
Yeah, so he did a great job at the top of the attitudes, but they call it first attitude, second attitude, and bad attitude, and Keith just figured out why.
Exactly. You can have one of those coming out of it when you get it wrong, but look at this, not wasting any time in attack mode. Got a great run out of the Tuella turn, gets him up alongside Ted Hughes. Now sweeping into the first of the S's called windup, and he is through. And again, a big wiggle there from Hughes. He may have just a little target fixation.
You know, you look at the guy ahead of you and say, well, he's going that fast. Why can't I go that fast? And in Ted Hughes' case, he just missed it by that much.
Onto this long front straight, cut in half by running just the east course, but still 1,500 feet long. And there is a look at Verges, just doing a superb job, working his way through the pack. Aggression when he needs it, but he also is exercising some good patience. He did have that little runoff at the end of the attitudes, but that was just for pushing hard, and now he's got to try and reel in Paccioni all over again.
You know, the drivers have distinguished themselves throughout this championship, but the cars have too. Now that the guys are getting these dialed in, they can run in close quarters like this, and it really is a joy to watch a single make program that makes over 650 horsepower.
It is unique, it is really special, and it is incredibly good racing. Once again, Verges now up alongside Paccioni. Need a little help here. Verges got the inside done, but watch for it. No, he realized Paccioni was turning in. That's a smart driver coming up through the pack, realizing when it's just not quite right.
And I imagine Rob Paccioni's head is like Linda Blair's in The Exorcist. He's looking at all 4 corners, not wanting to be a factor in this race, but how could you not enjoy yourself doing what Rob Paccioni from Canada is doing right now?
And look at the run. This time Verges gets out of that bad attitude, up into the Tuella turn. One of my absolute favorite corners here, Tom. It's deceptive how much speed you can carry into it, and that means you've got to get it right. And look at, speaking of getting it right, Ted Hughes going to try and get down the inside of that white Viper of Paccioni, and Ted and the blue one lefts and lets Paccioni have the line. again, showing some judgment there as we have Verges. Boy, it didn't take him long to run down Gillern.
Gillern, a veteran of this championship as well, but he knows he's a match for Verges on any given day. He's not going to make it easy for him to get by.
Matter of fact, that little bit of a scrum allowed Peccioni to almost get a run coming out of release onto the straight. Now Verges moves to the inside, got the run on Gillern. Can he make it work? He does. Gillern saw him coming, left the door open a little bit. Verges floats wide. Gillern thinks about the repass, can't quite get it done. Incredible battling going on back in the pack. Up front, Shimsk is getting away.
With so much racing going on in the world, you'd have to be a four-headed monster to keep up with it all. Luckily, we have that. Join Peter Keane, Bill Wood, Errol Tucker, and their guest driver analyst each week for an opinionated look at the news coming out of the racing world. Remember, it's GoRacingTV.com for all your racing and video needs.
The Dodge Viper Cup is the highlight of a Dodge Viper Owners Club Invitational weekend. This is the 11th one. In Miller Motorsports Park, rolling out the red carpet. The nice thing is a guy can drive a Street Viper, take that turn in there, follow that red carpet right onto the track eventually with what these guys are doing, and this is some great battling.
You know, we just for those of you who are wondering, Ryan Schimsk still at the front, Ben Keating's up there, but we are compelled to stay with this battle, Greg.
It's such great action back in the pack to be sure, but it is fierce. And you're seeing Ted Hughes now, after struggling a little bit early, giving up a couple of passes, is now starting to, it looks like, Tom, feel a little bit more aggression. He's gone around Peccioni, and it looks like he might be thinking about taking a bit of a run at Gillern here. Boy, did he get out of that last turn strong.
He really, really does. He's starting to figure it out, and his tires have come to him now, so he's got some confidence in those as well. Look at under braking, how deep he goes on Gillern.
And he certainly has that first corner figured out, how you go wide in and just arc way past the apex point, then come back to get the drive out faster right here, and coming up that left-hander called Gotcha, and it can.
It can. It often does. It apexed there just a little bit too late. You see all that desert out to your right. Now we come to another very interesting section. Some say his signature here at Miller Motorsports Park.
It is a fascinating section of track. Then you drop back down here. This is through Satisfaction. You get it right, that's what you feel. Now the hard blast down into the double left called Agony and Ecstasy, and he's looking down the inside. Gillern gives him the room. Oh, but he a little bit too hot, Tom. Big wiggle.
Those two guys respect each other. You can tell by the way they race on the track. But once again, Rob Peccioni sees an opportunity here.
And so does Hughes as he slices up into the Attitudes. Boy, nice place to make that pass into the first of the triple turns called the Attitudes. Now down to the bottom, and he is through and clear leading up. This is into that Tuella turn. Peccioni looking at Gillern, but all of them looking at the back of that beautiful blue Viper of Ted Hughes. And I'll tell you what, Ted is a longtime Viper loyalist, and now he's stepping it up.
You know, I bought an ACR, an 08 ACR in 2008, and just fell in love with the car on the track, and then they introduced the X, and just decided I'm going to buy one for a track day car. Well, it's way more car than I am right now. You know, it's going to take me quite a while to learn how to drive it, you know, pick up the next 2 seconds that you need to be really competitive with these guys. That's the thing that I like about it at this point, is learning how to use that car and drive it as hard as I can. After I got the car, then they came up with the Viper Cup and all that, and I'll give it a try. I've always kind of wanted to do it, so this was a great opportunity. Well, I just started this, and a lot of these guys have been running the VRL and other race series, and so I'm really new to it, but they've been great. You know, everybody, if you've got any questions, anything, they come up and they'll help, and everybody's very accessible. It's been a really good experience so far.
Well, the paddock here, not just for the Dodge Viper Cup, but at one of these Dodge Viper Owners Club Invitationals or a Viper Days weekend, it's truly family.
It really is, and you've got a captive audience for this race. Everybody around hanging on the fences, sitting in the grandstands are into Vipers, and that's what makes one of these events so great to do these rounds 7 and 8 at.
Hop on board with Kurt Solerberger. We haven't been with him for a little bit here, sitting in the 11th spot, and oh, he's got an absolutely great seat on that bit of contact as Paccioni and Gilles get together, and Gilles getting the worst of it, drifts off to the outside, loses 2-3 spots now. Now Gilles gathers it back up, but that was a pretty good hit.
You know, Gilles was trying to give him room to run, and I think he actually got startled when there was contact between those guys, because he didn't seem to be forced off the road. He seemed to drive it off the road. Meanwhile, Paccioni's thinking about that right now, saying, man, was that the thing to do?
Yeah, obviously, you've got to be a little bit careful as you get side by side. Sturdy cars to be sure, but in race trim, sometimes that can you can do things like cut a tire down, bend up some body work, and all of a sudden he is slowing down. So I don't know, maybe there was a little bit of damage there that we weren't privy to. It doesn't show much on the car.
No, you can't see anything in the car. It looks just beautiful, but maybe could this be a self-imposed penalty that he's putting on himself as he slows down considerably, and Gilles will go by down on the inside now.
Well, maybe I think that might be an idea, is that maybe he thought, well, I hit him and I shouldn't do that, and so I'm going to let him go.
Well, that was a long shot, even when I said it.
Okay.
But now we're getting a report the driver's side mirror on Rob's car has fallen off, and of course, you know, he's a dentist without a mirror. He's in trouble. We'll be right back. Hi there, I'm Tom Natcher, and this is Greg Kramer. We're called the old bastards of racing in many circles. You know, I guess we met back in the late 1980s.
Easy. It had to be at least that far back. Glory day of some racing, too.
Oh, absolutely. Trans Am was a part of the picture, and actually I learned to do pro announcing from this man around the Trans Am Championship. Oh, that is a long time ago.
A very long time ago, but I'll tell you what, you take a look at Trans Am racing in the early 90s in particular, the names that were running at that time. But the other side of the story was World Challenge was really starting to come alive at that point. And the names in that, there were sometimes you'd look at the two rosters and go, you know, I'm not sure which one is the most talent. Some amazing stuff from those decades past, and of course, a lot of those drivers also doubling up, running amateur racing in the runoffs, and it was spectacular stuff.
Now, Go Racing TV has got all of that action, Trans Am World Challenge, and even some runoff material, all coming up over the next season. That's going to be something to watch.
I know, to be able to relive those 2 decades of motorsports from the Sports Car Club of America's Pro Racing Department, Trans Am World Challenge, and then you include the National Amateur Championships, the runoff, the intense battles that unfolded there. It simply doesn't get any better than that, and it lives again right here on GoRacingTV.com.
Because I need to spend more time in front of my computer.
If you like Vipers, this is the place to be. If you own a Viper, it's a must.
You're probably already here.
Exactly. There's thousands of them here, and most of them are on track at some point having a good time. But when the Dodge Viper Cup fires up, everybody, as you said earlier, Tom, they go to the fences. They want to watch what's unfolding, and we have a superb battle in the mix right now. We hop on board with Michael Von Quillick as he is chasing Jim Stout, and Stout runs it a little wide, but look at this as Von Quillick loops it.
Well, Michael did a good job. He kept it on the tarmac, but the thing is what to do next. You daren't back up in this situation unless you know exactly who's coming. So see what Michael will do here. Oh, take the shortcut and take some of this Tooele dust out onto the track with him. Why not? Attaboy, Mike.
It's one of the nice things about this track. It's real difficult to hit anything if you get something wrong. You can bring a lot of dust and debris up, but at least you don't get into anything. And boy, speaking of getting into things, how about getting into a huge battle? And folks, this is for the second spot. There is Keating. You remember that monster start he got from third up into second, but then he has had the four-starting Charlie Putman in that 99, the black Viper with the red trim on the sides, jump up into third, getting around Ralph Gilles, who started in the second spot, and these three have been in lockstep now for just a bit. They've closed up. This is a great scrap.
There's two things I like about Ben Keating. First of all, he's a great talent. He's proven that time and time again inside Dodge Viper Cup, but he's also prepared to go right to the edge, so you kind of spend the whole race going, what's Ben Keating going to do? And he's right in the thick of it now, Greg.
and he loves it there, and we are on board with him. Look at Putman hunting just a little bit, but Putman a little bit too wide in there. He goes all the way out, gets it back down to the apex. Well, you can see that car skate just a little bit. It is a real balancing act getting into that turn.
It really is, and you know, Charles Putman has got some experience here, but in nothing like this car. I think the last time he was here, as you see Ben Keating.
You can see him on the wheels, those front wheels fighting now, back on, now loops it, gets it into about a half spin, backs it away, already into gear. Well, you talked about Ben Keating lives on the edge, and sometimes it'll bite you.
See, anybody else would have just put both pedals in and waited for that thing to end. He drove it all the way out of that, and even put on a smoke show on the way out of the Twilla Dust.
Now on board with Putman, clear of Keating, sits in second spot now, of course. There, behind him is Ralph Gilles, and Putman working his way up through the Twilla turn. That's into the attitudes, that nice approach, that climb, then the drop through the first, the second, and then through bad attitude, and now that gradual climb up into Twilla turn, watching Putman knife through at this point.
You know, Charles Putman doing a great job. Ralph Gilles saw an opportunity to get up into third place, and now he's just going to watch and learn a little bit, see where Charles Putman might give him an opportunity.
Ralph Gilles, of course, president and CEO of Dodge. He loves these cars.
I think it's fantastic. I think the car is so drivable. It brings out people that are just naturally gifted, that understand line theory, understand the thrill. Anyone who's comfortable with kind of looking God in the eye a little bit, is going to do well in a car like this. Because once you kind of figure out that the car is very manageable, very predictable, the talent comes out. So I'm not surprised to actually see these guys do real well. Because we had bobsledders in these things. We have people that understand physics and G-forces. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It really shows what the car can do. Well, this particular track, the Miller racetrack, really does suit the car very well. It's got a lot of nice gradual corners with some banking, so you can pretty much lay on the throttle the whole time. It's just enough speed to get the downforce going, and this car's got what I would call a tail hook type brake, so it's really bringing out all the best features of the car. For me, it's really blowing the cobwebs out and realizing that it's like riding a bike, to be honest. I've done a lot of testing in this car, so we're kind of coming together. So far, I'm one of the faster guys, so I'm kind of hoping it stays that way for the rest of the weekend. And great news, the Viper's coming back. I mean, the boss announced it to a group of dealers a couple weeks ago, a dealer announcement show. There'll be a new Viper in the second quarter of 2012, so we're very, very excited, and this, for me, it's a personal celebration of that fact.
Ralph Gilles is not only the head of Dodge, but he's also a Viper Club member and one of the greatest enthusiasts about the brand. It's great news to see the Viper living on into the beyond 2012, and it's going to be a good long time after that. This is the passion car for Dodge, not just the Halo car, but something that everybody at Dodge is really into. And as they say, in an excellent organization, it all begins at the top.
Absolutely, and it does sort of trickle down, and you can see he was so adamant about this car. Oh, Stout gets a little crossed up, and Verges was thinking he might be able to save that, and he was just going to tuck in, and then Stout suddenly jumped sideways. That was a great piece of evasive action by Verges as he's continuing this charge up through the pack.
I also think he caused a little bit, pushing Stout just a little bit wide. He knew what was going to happen. He was going to drive on by, but he never expected him to come that far right.
Absolutely, but a great save nonetheless by Verges, a better save by Stout not to loop the whole thing. And you hop on board with Stout, we were talking about these cars are powerful, they're exciting, but they're also user-friendly. And for a Viper guy like Jim Stout, he loves them too.
Well, he's got a whole bunch of Vipers, and this one happens to be his favorite one for now. Ryan Shim's leading Charles Putman, and Ralph Gilles will be back after these messages.
The club, an amateur racer. Here at Go Racing TV, we salute you. And we want to give you all the tools and info to compete with the best. Find out how to do it all from your own garage by watching our Club Racer and Autocrosser shows. GoRacingTV.com, supplying all your video racing needs.
Seventh round of the Dodge Viper Cup here at beautiful Miller Motorsports Park, Tooele, Utah, the Great Salt Desert. Mountain ranges all around. The Okers, the Stansburys, the Wasatch. It doesn't get much better than this unless you decide you want to go race a Viper. Then you crawl behind the wheel of one of these bad boys and you're having real fun.
Ryan Shims, the youngster in the paddock, comes into the Dodge Viper Cup, sets the mark very, very early, and now he's talking. Just before this race in the Falls Grid, he's saying, I've got a championship to win. I've got to stay clean. I've got to get up front. He's driven a flawless race, Greg.
He truly has. I mean, he broke the tie that he had basically for poles with Ben, got his 4th. If he hangs on here, he'll break the tie he has with Ben for 2 wins each. Exactly what he needed to do in the championship. And we've talked about it before, Tom. This is a guy who drives with a head on his shoulders far above his age.
You know, he did a front-engine rear-wheel drive spec series as we get into our last lap here, but that was the MX-5 Cup. A whole different kettle of fish here, but he's done single-make racing, and as he's come up through this championship, unlike today, when he's had to get in there with the mix, he's shown good heads-up racing. He deserves, or is one of the guys who deserves to be here right now.
Absolutely, that modal car, he has not put a scratch on it, but Ralph Gilles, in trying to run down Charlie Putman for the 2nd spot, loops it. He's got it in gear before he even stops moving and just erupts a cloud of dust up into the air. And look back, where's Keating? There he is. Boy, Keating saw that plume. That was just like Days of Thunder, just driving into the cloud going, I'm not lifting. I can sense a shot here.
Or Jaws, look at this. Dun, 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 dun. Here comes Keating. And Ralph is aware of that as Ben Keating now making a charge. In the last lap, this is a change in speeds for the podium, or an opportunity for Keating to get on the podium.
Well, the thing is, Gilles got dirty tires right now. Those Michelins are great tires, but when you dirty them up when they're hot,
nothing's great.
Yeah, it takes a bit. So he's got to drive the corners of his life right now. And you know, Keating, we've talked about it before, that ViperExchange.com machine is going to be in full pursuit.
And his attitude, total bonsai right now. He's trying to get onto the podium. Ben Keating, is a matter of pride, is a matter of points, down through the attitude, and Ralph's leaving nothing on the table.
Boy, that car twitching as he is absolutely driving it. Here comes Keating. And again, keep in mind, not too far behind them is Verges either. So one mistake from these guys, another spot for Verges. But the guy who has been spot on perfect from start to perhaps a checkered flag, here he comes, Ryan Shimsk. Absolutely phenomenal drive.
Takes the checkered flag. Putman will be behind him, but we've got to get an eye on 3rd place. Is Ralph going to be able to hang on, or is that crazy acid-colored car going to come through at the end?
Boy, I tell you what, here we go into that last turn, into release. Look at Keating, throws that back end around, gassing it, flat tracking it, trying anything he can. He got a good drive out of the turn, but just enough. Ralph Gilles will hang on to that final podium spot, but Keating, look at the speed he was carrying. He had to turn inside to not get into the back of Gilles. Wow, classic Keating.
Great, classic Keating. Shimsk, Putman, Gilles, Keating just outside, and look at Keith Verges.
Cracking the top 5, great ride. There you take a look at the rest of the field, the 13th spot. Again, Paccione having his issues with that bit of contact in the mirror. And now the points after 7 rounds of the championship, and Shim's doing exactly what he needed to do, back into the points lead by only 6 points. It's that close. And you take a look at the rest of the pack, but those are the 2 that are really battling for the honors right now.
As we go into round number 8, this could be settled, but in the meantime, a very jubilant Ryan Shimsk gets out of his car. I was down in pit lane to talk to him. Well, Ryan Shimsk, it's all about the start here in Dodge Viper Cup. You got a good one. You never had to look back.
Yeah, actually I ended up starting on the dirty side of the track, which this much horsepower and the cold tires really was not a benefit. But I held my own through turn 1 and 2, and Ben battled it out, and luckily I was able to pull a little gap about mid-race, and from there I was just trying to keep the car together. It's real hot out here. The cars obviously have some cooling issues every now and then with the stint air, and Motul products just really kept the car cool. I gotta thank American Racing Technology. They wouldn't have made this weekend possible if they hadn't have dumped in at the last minute. But wow, that was a good run. I'm excited. We needed that for the championship, so good to go.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, let's see. You're on the podium. You kissed the girl. You're about to have a glass of water. That's all right. Good job, Charles.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Boy, that's a lot of fun out there. I tell you what, these cars are just unbelievable. Out of the box, delight to drive. Very forgiving with huge horsepower. I mean, it's just about as much fun as a barrel of monkeys.
You know, you probably the only guy in the paddock who never gave a second thought at passing the head of Dodge.
Well, you know, there was a second thought there, but that's all, just for a second.
Well, Ralph Gilles, let's start off by saying this, but car's all dusty.
Yes, it is. I went off into the gravel. There's some deep gravel out there. So remember my Jeep off-roading skills. We started keeping the wheels spinning, got it back on track. But I was thinking about Ben. Where is he? Where is he? It was a lot of fun.
The battle was definitely for third there, but you had a good battle with Charles Putman as well, a newcomer to the series.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. He's so smooth, and watching him, he didn't make any mistakes. Had him in a couple of corners a little faster, but he knows how to drive a wide car, and that's what a pro does. Take care.
And that was a pro interview right there. I mean, he obviously gets it. He knows what he's up against with some of these drivers. And watching some of those, when he was throwing that car through those S's up there in the attitudes, the man can drive.
It's nice to know that you got a second career if you really need it.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up our coverage here of the 7th round of the Dodge Viper Cup. Round 8 will be coming up right back here at Miller Motorsports Park. Thanks for joining us. For Tom Natchew, I'm Greg Kramer. Till next time, take care, everybody.